Make a hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah
on Pulse 95.
Yesterday around 5 p.m., 6 p.m., all over the internet, on my Twitter account, on, just basically everywhere, everybody was talking about Microsoft's acquisition of Bethesda. And honestly, even though I would say I don't understand much about this acquisition, but I still know how big it is for something like this big to be acquired by Microsoft. What does that even mean? What does that mean for the future of all these titles?
Yeah, you're right. Honestly, when you sent me the announcement yesterday, I took it like a moment, just like I stepped back. I'm like, okay, what just happened, and what exactly have they done here? Microsoft, in a shocking turn of events, has went into an agreement to acquire ZeniMax Media, which is the parent company for Bethesda Softworks. And also, in this acquisition, they've acquired all of the creative studios. We're talking id Software, Bethesda game studios, and all the intellectual properties, and an acquisition that costed them about $7.5 billion. That's insane.
That is insane. That's a lot of money, but I think that's smart of Microsoft, because they're trying to expand. And also the idea of Xbox exclusives have been the joke for like years. You're like, what Xbox exclusives? Nobody really cared about them, because kind of PlayStation and Sony kind of had the monopoly, or at least had, a good grip on all these exclusives. People were deviating towards them or use them as an example. But now you can't make fun of Microsoft or Xbox anymore.
Yeah, you're right. But here is the billion-dollar question to this: is Microsoft going to make all of the Bethesda-based IPs exclusive only to PC and Xbox? Because with this acquisition, they've acquired some of the biggest, most popular franchises in history of video games, which is the Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and Doom. And are those going to only be exclusive, or are they going to have like a more, like they're going to still have cross-platform releases for these big franchises?
According to Phil Spencer, the chief of Xbox, he said that they're going to take, considered case by case. So I think that, I feel maybe, this is just me just throwing stuff around, and because I'm thinking about it and how they would go about this, they could easily maybe release things first on Xbox, maybe a couple of days before, even months, or maybe even a year. Because I think it would be a bad idea for them to hold on to something that could also bring them profit.
Yeah.
On other consoles, whether it's the PS4 or on PS5, PS4, or even the Switch, or whatever, the newer consoles that are going to come up in the next couple of years. So I think that they say case by case, because again, like you said, it's about the profit at the end of the day.
Yeah, you're right. I got a lot of fans out there going crazy. The reactions are insane. There's still people talking about it. There's even the speculation that because Microsoft, before the acquisition, they bought out Obsidian, who are the developers of the original Fallout as well as Fallout New Vegas. But now that they have the Fallout IP, people are like, oh my God, Microsoft has the best chance to make a sequel to Fallout New Vegas, which is considered one of the better games in the franchise.
But here's the thing, that they asked. Somebody tweeted, they're like, hey Obsidian, what is going to happen with the Fallout series? They actually replied with a shrug emoji.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't know.
That's such a tease with Bethesda's next upcoming IP, which is Starfield. And also Todd Howard talking about the huge overhaul of Elder Scrolls 6's engine. They say it's going to be the biggest change since Oblivion. So this is really just great timing for Microsoft, especially now that they've unveiled the next generation consoles.
Yeah.
They're now initiated the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with the xCloud gaming service, and now this acquisition. I gotta say, even as a Sony fan, as a PlayStation fan, I'm impressed. That is really great strategy from Microsoft. And so I want to ask you guys, the dear listeners and viewers, text us 4215 into Salanter with this new acquisition from Microsoft. Has your mind changed? Do you think that you will get an Xbox instead of a PlayStation? Let us know here on the Afternoon Cut-Up.
Speculation, gossip, or hoax. Rumor rumor has it.
As we're getting a little more information about the MCU movies, Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, apparently there's rumors that they're eyeing Tom Cruise to play an alternate universe version of Iron Man.
That's very interesting. I could kind of picture him as Iron Man, but not right now. No, actually, no. Actually, I could picture him as Iron Man right now because Iron Man is supposed to be like, middle-aged. Mm-hmm. So I can see him now that,
he needs to be like
Tom Cruise is getting older.
Yeah, he needs to be eccentric. He needs to be a billionaire. He needs to be like a player kind of character. Which,
what he used to say? He's a philanthropist, playboy, billionaire.
Yes, exactly. Except we don't use that one term. But apparently there is reports that Tom Cruise almost got the role for Stark before Robert Downey Jr. would have gotten it.
Sort of like a meta casting, more or less.
Yeah,
kind of giving an homage to him, like, ooh, what could have been if he had taken over the role. So what could have been
with a multiverse scenario like Doctor Strange's upcoming movie, why not bring Tom Cruise to fill in that spot? And now, I honestly, let's say if he was going to be playing a canonical version of Iron Man, I would have been against it. I feel like Robert left quite the legacy behind that. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to do multiverse, sure, do something. Do a what-if scenario for the take on that character, and I don't mind. But just do it with the respect and just the well thought out appreciation for that character. And I know Tom Cruise, he's been in the industry for long enough, so he might be able to do it.
I love how you're like, he might be able to do it, as if he's a newbie, as if he hasn't done doesn't have a whole list of movies he's done in his entire career, probably over 50 movies.
I just have something about Tom Cruise, he's a great actor, I respect him and all that. But just, I feel like he should be in certain movies and in others not. You know what I mean? That's I don't know. It's a weird feeling. I have this relationship with each actor and whatnot, and just Tom Cruise. I'm like, MCU. You have this one exception because it's an alternate verse scenario, so you could fill in that spot.
I think he might have been good in the MCU back in the 90s, maybe, because back in the 90s, early 2000s. Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, there were just those names that were recurring throughout all these movies.
Yeah.
So now, it's now that a lot of people have emerged, including Robert Downey Jr., who wasn't, he wasn't a new face, but he had kind of had a second coming or something like a whole redemption arc, a personal redemption arc, and he just made his role, cemented his role in the MCU. So I understand what you mean, that you're he just feels like an old face and he feels out of place in the MCU. But like you said, I welcome the idea that he could also be another version of Tony
what if
Stark.
version, and that's it. If he becomes canonical, I'm gonna have a problem.
No, it's not gonna be canonical. I don't think anybody is gonna like that or gonna accept the fact that, after Robert Downey Jr.'s legacy, for somebody else to take over, nobody's going to be too happy about that. We are celebrating Hobbit Day, and apparently we have a big fan of Hobbits with the sender number 06444. What's wrong with me and triples? Since yesterday, 0007.
You guys can just put in your name, even an abbreviation. Just make it easier on us.
Make it easier on me, because I apparently have issues with numbers. This person says Hobbits all day. They're with Mikhail and they're loving the Hobbits and celebrating Hobbits. We're going to continue our celebration and other news and also some debates coming up next after the sports headlines, so stay tuned for that.
Pulse 95.
It's kind of weird that imagine something gets an award as prestigious as the Emmys.
Yeah.
The day later, it gets canceled.
Don't know, man. For something like that to happen, you can tell it's not coincidental. Maybe there's something more political, maybe something more personal, creative dispute of some kind, because it's weird to get an announcement from Netflix saying that Dark Crystal Age of Resistance has been just abruptly canceled. And why is Dark Crystal fantasy? Why is this series so important and one that we're putting a little bit more spotlight into? It's because this is a series that was made by Jim Henson, who was the legendary puppeteer, animator, screenwriter, who at the time conceived the Sesame Street and that wonderful world. And for a long time, he had this creative struggle of trying to create more adult more mature stories with the use of puppets, but he couldn't do it with Sesame Street.
Yeah.
So he separated himself. He opened the Jim Henson Company and produced his first film, which was Labyrinth, and it was, it received critical acclaim, but it was the Dark Crystal fantasy that to this day is a cult classic, and it was really great to hear that Netflix picked the franchise up to work on its first season, and fans, I know they were also equally excited for a second one, but to see just get abruptly canceled like that, it's kind of like a somber sadness.
Especially since it debuted only last year, so it barely got its run. So it's kind of upsetting, but according to some rumors going around, is that it was too expensive.
I'm sure.
Produce.
Oh yeah, you can tell just by looking at it. It uses not only like a lot of practical effects. It uses all sorts of puppeteering. You really, there is no CGI work into this, and it's a very passionate and ambitious project. Yeah. Which I know is time consuming in terms of finances, but even creative work. So I think Netflix doing this is maybe saving themselves a little bit of a heartache, or just in terms of a budget.
Even if you take into consideration the cast itself is quite star-studded. I mean, they have Mark Hamill. They've got big names, so I don't blame them that they believe that it is too expensive to produce. So it's sad.
So it's like a business thing where the cost of producing this didn't
outweighed the pros of keeping it going, especially.
And maybe the stream views itself was not what they anticipated. They were hoping something higher. I don't know if they'll ever reveal.
Maybe they actually have bigger plans when it comes to other movies and other TV shows. So they're just, moving the funds towards these. And they're like, we cannot afford to keep this going instead.
You're right.
Which is upsetting because apparently the first season ended with a cliffhanger. So we just need to, see what happens. Maybe some other studio will pick it up. But again, it seems like a very ambitious, super ambitious project. So it will need a good amount of backing for it to come back. Coming up next, we have some sort of a debate to talk about. I love our debates, so stay tuned for that.
Pulse 95.
This past summer, we've gotten some interesting insights about Ellen DeGeneres and just the scandal behind her as a person and her workmanship, her work ethics, her treatment of employees and treatment of people around her, and for just a lot of public reception has been a bit negative. Maybe a bit is trying to downplay it, but it was pretty bad.
It was really bad.
And it shed light on Ellen and who she really is behind the curtains, and her very toxic behavior and mistreatment of her employees. And out of nowhere, the first episode of the 18th season of Ellen DeGeneres was just debuted yesterday, and there she comes into the front stage center and has her little speech, of hey guys, I'm back, and I'm sorry. But is that enough? What do you think, Aisha?
Is it even, should she even be back? Was she supposed to be given a second chance? Because I believe that, when you're talking about somebody making some sort of vulgar joke or a joke on expense of somebody else a long time ago, there's, you've heard a lot of people getting canceled for that or getting into trouble for that. That's a case-by-case basis. I think that's very different. Over here, that this person is actually incredibly toxic, has created a very toxic environment for their employees and also for their guests as well. A lot of these, I'd say these interviews with well-known, well-renowned actors and actresses have started re-emerging. I mean, we all watch them, and a lot of people have laughed at them, but then the people have been watching them again and saying, actually, no, that's not funny. Mm-hmm. That's actually incredibly rude. So she's been rude to people behind the scenes and, on the stage as well.
Yeah, and she talks about how she has realized that she's done mistakes in the past, that she's human, and it's okay for her to be sad and angry and mad, and she does apologize that her emotions or just the way she behaves has affected all sorts of people, especially her employees. And she goes on to say that, once there was a time when I was just a comedian who just wanted to make people just happy and laugh, and now I take care of 270 employees as we're trying to make we're trying to make the perfect episode each and every day. She goes on to emphasize again 270 employees, and she makes everybody applaud, and it's kind of like you're trying to act like
I did my part.
I did my part, and I'm like, isn't my team great? I'm sorry that I may have mistreated them.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I have my take on it is that Ellen, you never felt sorry, you never felt bad about it until you got caught. And now that you're caught, you're now very apologetic. You're very admissive about it. But you've let the years pass, and people are not stupid. The compilations on YouTube, you can see them talking. That shows a lot of her aggressive and toxic nature.
Yeah.
Not only to her guests, but also as employees, and even just the public talking more about her. There's this weird thing about this waitress. This one I found where it's like this waitress had an issue with Ellen. Ellen wanted to book for a table, and then next thing you know, Ellen actually sent a letter to the manager saying the waitress was not kind to her. Like, imagine, how could he be...
The audacity, basically.
It's very petty of Ellen to be doing that. So,
and especially somebody in her position, because there's a difference between me getting angry at a manager and being like, your waitress was really rude to me. And there's a difference between somebody with much more, influence and power going over and being like, this waitress was terrible and rude to me.
Yeah.
Especially considering the work of people like waitressing or, just being in those sort of jobs. Sometimes it takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
You get exhausted. So you should always, when they don't smile, that's okay. They've probably been working for the past 6, 7, 8 hours on their feet. So you just need to be a little bit extra nice, be considerate. Your life is not gonna, be incredibly affected by just a tiny, small, bad meal. You can go somewhere else and have another meal. You can go back home. This could be just one experience. You can just forget about it. No need to go and popularize it and tell people, oh, this restaurant was terrible, for example.
Yeah.
So I don't feel this is sincere. And just like you said, it's just that, oops, I got caught. Now I need to address it. And I want my show to go on for another season or two. I want it to hit the 20th season benchmark. So I'm going to go apologize in front of people. I fired everybody who was, who was part of it, because there were lots of misconduct happening behind the scenes, and it took her this long to also admit that and also fire them. So
this is definitely, her the show must go on, but definitely there is a shift of tone now. People look at her and watch her much more differently than before.
Also, I feel like we've kind of outgrew this sort of TV.
Oh, yeah.
She's basically showing us things that go viral, and we're already on the internet. We already saw everything that went viral. We're not waiting for Ellen to show us, hey, check out this meme. We saw this meme 10 days ago. We're good to go.
Just shows that cable television and networking is bit by bit getting irrelevant.
You know what you should watch? Succession, because they talk about that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You should watch Succession.
Definitely.
Just gonna throw it in. Everyone's
the Emmy Award-winning drama limited series
is from HBO. Succession. Check it out. It's on OSN. It's everywhere. Alternative links are available. But yeah, guys, check out Succession and tell us, what do you believe about this? Do you think that this is valid? Should we all, just turn into the next page and forgive Ellen, or should the show be canceled? And should she, as a person, be canceled? Tell us all about it. 4215 Itsalat, or do join in the conversation on YouTube, on Instagram, wherever you'd like. We're going to be taking a short break, and we'll be back with more chatters right here on the Afternoon Karak.
It's almost 5 p.m.
That was Afternoon Karak. For dessert,
Aisha and Mikhail suggest...
Today's suggestion made absolutely no sense to me. I'm sorry, Mikhail. When you sent it, I had to reread it. Granted, I was kind of half asleep, and I was like, but what is he trying to do? You were talking about pistachios.
Yes, and there is sometimes that struggle to break open the shell. You know, and not every shell is easy to break.
True.
So and sometimes you might not have the fingernails for it. You may have already cut your nails.
Yeah.
It's just something about that shell you're not able to break with your own hands. So my suggestion was get half a shell of a pistachio and use it as a way to break open other pistachios. And I think
it made absolutely no sense to me, which is why I got some pistachios.
You're gonna try to debunk me right now, right?
No, not debunk you. I legitimately was kind of confused as to what you were trying to say. So here are a couple of pistachios, Mikhail. Please explain to me, what do you mean?
Okay, here we go. So let's open one right now. Okay,
yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
I gotta eat it. Now we got a half shell right here.
Yeah.
Let's say this one's very hard to open with your own hands.
Okay.
Use it as a way to break open.
Oh, okay.
The
Okay,
shell.
I see that.
And there you go. All right.
Struggling with the pistachios.
Yeah, and this could be think of it as a little can opener, you know?
Yes. I've never thought of that.
Yep.
And there's always, those look easy to open, but there's usually, like you said, there's always one or two pistachios that you just cannot open, and we've
The
eaten.
smaller, the harder, and you just can't do it,
Yes,
right?
and when you're nearly done with all your pistachios, there's 3 or 4 left, and you're like, I'm not gonna throw them. They're not gonna go to waste.
Yeah.
So I just try to bite them.
See, that's where you can, and you're not enjoying most of it because some of it is still in there.
True.
And you want to enjoy the entire pistachio.
Exactly.
So here's a simple technique. Let me just do it again on the camera.
One more time.
Use half a shell of a pistachio, then use it to twist open another shell.
You make it look so easy. I'm not even
There
kidding.
you go. You're welcome.
I love this. I love this so much. Thank you so much for thinking of this. Again, I would have never, ever guessed, what can I do with this? Usually, again, just like I told you, I just bite into it. There's usually, the sides that are still closed.
Yeah.
I would bite it in a way where I can open it in my mouth. But this is just much easier, less of a problem, and less of a hassle. So thank you so much for that.
You're most welcome. And that's what we do here in the Afternoon Cut, guys. We have a good time, ease your lives, and always wish you guys a wonderful day because we're going to be heading out. We got Yellow Home, Anna Schofield, and Big Hass to keep you company and entertained from 5 till 8 o'clock. But if you miss us, don't worry. We're going to be back here again, same time, same vibes, only here on Pulse 95.
Pulse 95. You're listening to Pulse 95. Pulse 95.
It's Pulse 95.